There are two kinds of color that we use when we're working with graphic design. We have RGB color, which is made using light, and it's used in digital cameras, monitors, scanners, overhead projectors, and the internet. The other source of color is CMYK color, which is made with ink, and it's used for printing. And we call RGB color additive color because when we add light, the maximum amount of light that we get to white. If we have no light, we get black. CMYK is called subtractive color. In other words, if we have full ink, lots of ink, then we get black. If we remove the black, if we remove the ink, then we eventually get white. So, and we have red, green, and blue. And then when red and blue are combined, we get magenta. Red and green combined gets yellow. And blue and green combined gets cyan. And then, interestingly enough, we have in CMYK color, we have cyan and magenta creates blue, cyan and yellow creates green, and magenta and yellow creates red. So they have sort of reference each other. Okay, now we're going to talk about how we get color in InDesign. So I'm going to go to InDesign and I'm going to go to Share. And I'm going to create a new document. And when I go to create the new document, create new, the first thing we need to do is we need to decide whether this project is going to be for print or for web. In most of the projects in this class, we're going to save it for print. And the reason we need to save it for print or web is because we need to have the right color space. Web is going to give us automatically RGB color, and print is going to automatically give us CMYK. I'm going to click print. I'm going to click letter. I'm going to make it horizontal because it'll make it a little bit easier. Just for the heck of it, I'll change it to inches so that we know it's 8.5 by 11. Click create, and I have a document. Now, when we create color in InDesign, so I'm going to create this square here. I'm going to click on fill under the properties, and we only get 6 colors. Cyan. So you'll notice that this is CMYK color. We know it's CMYK. Well, CMYK colors, if you look on the very right, you'll see that we get a little 4-color symbol: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Also in the color names, it's CMYK, and these give us the percentage of each of those colors. So this is C100, 000. And then we get to the red, it's C15, M100, Y100, K0, and so on. Okay, so we have those colors. And I click on this item. I go to fill, click on there, and I can pick a color and it will fill it with that color. Now, if I want to change the colors, say I've got this red and I want to change it to another color, I can duplicate these colors, go up to option. Well, let's see. First, I can just create a new color swatch like this. Okay. And since this is CMYK color, I want to be consistent. You need to make sure that this color mode is set to CMYK It should come up automatically, but if it doesn't, if it comes up in some of these other choices, you'll need to change it back to CMYK. And when you have CMYK, you have 4 sliders. You'll notice that you get a little bit of a color indicator in these bars. If I move cyan up, it becomes, let's see. That's weird. Okay. If I move it up there, it'll get more purple. If I move it down like this, it'll be magenta. Down like this, it'll become more green or olive. If I remove the yellow, it becomes more steel gray in this case, and that's reflected in the color of the slider. If I want it a little darker, move it like that. I click add. I click done. And you'll see that that color is now added into my list, and it's CMYK. In this case, 77, 60, 28, 22. Okay, so there's that way of adding color. If I want tints of that color, I go up to the palette here and I click, and you'll see that I can get tints of that color. I can select in here like that. Say I want that particular tint. Hit return. It's filled with that. If I go here, I can go to new tint swatch, and it will actually record this tint so I can use it again. So I could click here, go to there, go to there. I could click there, new tint swatch, click OK. And then I have 3 swatches. I can also take these swatches and move them around, place them in order, and what have you. It also tells me what the percentages are of those tints. Now, if I want a color that isn't here, and I don't want to go through the sliders, I can go here, click on the palette, and go up to the options. And if I go to HSB, it gives me a full spectrum of colors, everything from very light to very dark, everything from red, yellow, green, cyan, purple, magenta, and back to red again. And I can use my eyedropper like that. However, we don't want to stay in HSB. We actually want to go to CMYK. CMYK also gives us a slider. You'll notice that this is not as bright as the other. CMYK colors tend to be duller than RGB colors or HSB colors or what have you. Okay, I've got that. And I can click add to swatches. And this now goes back like this. I can go to RGB. Add to swatches, like that. If I now go back here, I see I've got those colors, that color, that color. And as long as it's selected, I can change then whatever color. Okay. Also on the left, I can double click and it gives you a choice. These are again RGB. I'm going to want to change them to CMYK. So I'm going to want to click, actually, I'm going to want to click HSB and then go to CMYK. Say I want a red right in here. As long as I'm clicked here, I can add a CMYK swatch, or I can just click OK and then I get that color. I can then go to Swatch Palette and I can click New and it'll create a new color. Okay, so you don't want to stay, say that's an RGB color. You don't want to save it as an RGB color. You don't want to save it as an HSB or an LAB color, because these colors will be far brighter than colors that can be actually printed. If I go like that, click CMYK swatch. See, it's a good idea to come over here. Well, you'll notice that when I save this, it's not nearly as bright. If I click there, it's probably not actually going to let me, since my color space is in fact CMYK for this document, since I created it for print. I think it's not actually going to let me, at least this way, save it as a CMYK swatch. Click OK. If I double click here, go to here, CMYK RGB. It's going to give me a warning. But if I add it to my swatches just this way, it's going to save it as an RGB swatch. If I go here, you'll see that instead of CMYK, I get RGB, and I get these three swatches here. And that indicates that it's the wrong color space. And what I really want to do at that point is double click. It says that it's RGB. I can click here. I can go to CMYK. It becomes much duller, but it's actually printable like that. Click OK. All right. One other thing, since I'm talking about adding colors, file, place. Let's see what I've got. Open. If I have this and I want to add the colors from this to my swatches, which is a good way to create consistency in your design, I can go to the eyedropper tool in InDesign, go to the color theme tool, which is the default, and I can click on this image and it pulls out the top 5 colors. In this case, dark blue, medium blue, light blue, gray, and orange. And you'll see a set of swatches here. If I click that and I come over to my swatches palette, you'll see that there is now something called a colorful theme folder. And if I hold that down, you'll see that those colors just got picked out of this image. Okay. And again, when you pick those colors, you're going to want to make sure that they come in as CMYK. If you pick from an RGB image, they may come in as RGB and then they'll need to be converted, much like I showed you, where you double click on it, make sure that it's set to CMYK, or reset it to CMYK and click OK. All right, next. If we create a web document, File, New Document, and we go to Web, and I'm going to go to a fairly small web size, 800 by 600. It'll probably be fine. Again, you might want to check the inches, but it won't really matter. Pixels are how we usually measure things on the web. Click Create. What you're going to see is if I create an object, double click over here, comes up RGB, add RGB swatch. So it's automatically going to try to keep you in your RGB settings. Click OK. There's that. I double click over here, click OK, double click here. You'll see that the colors come in automatically as RGB colors rather than CMYK colors. All of these have the 3 bars over on the right. Here's my color. And I'm going to create a new tint swatch from that. Click Add. Done. So now I've got a percentage just like I did with the CMYK, only it's in RGB. That's the difference between those. And then again, if I want to add a new swatch, new color swatch, again, I get a set of sliders. You want to make sure they're set to RGB. Click Add. Click Done. So I've got a new color. And again, if I go File, Place, Open, Command Z, bigger. Go to the Color Theme tool. Click on here. Click on the swatches. If I now go here, colorful theme. Okay, so in this case, what it did is it gave me RGB colors rather than CMYK colors, which is good. And so for some reason, I needed to change those to CMYK colors, then I would have to go back and do it. But not a big problem. And that should just give you an overall idea. Again, remember, if you're working on print projects, you should use CMYK color. If you're using RGB, if you're going to do something for the web, you should use RGB colors. And the reason really is that you can do much brighter colors on the web, on a monitor, than you can do when you print. And you don't want to get in a situation where, for instance, you have a color like this and you show the client and you say that that's what the color is going to look like. tell them the color is going to look like this. And then you come back and when it prints out, it looks like that. More obviously, if you have this and you have this, and you tell them it's going to look like this when it prints, and it looks like that when it prints, they might take offense and decide not to pay you. So it's really much to your advantage to show people designs in the proper color space so that they know what they will actually get.